There is a skill so rare that if you master it, almost nobody on this earth will ever be able to hurt you again. Not because people stop betraying you, not because the world becomes kinder, not because insults stop coming, but because you become untouchable where it actually matters, inside. Stay until the end, because I'm going to give you the exact mental shift the Stoics used to become emotionally unbreakable. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Here is the illusion almost everyone lives under. They believe pain comes from outside, from words, from rejection, from betrayal, from criticism, from disrespect. But the Stoics discovered something most people never figure out in an entire lifetime. Pain is rarely caused by the event itself. It is caused by your interpretation of it. Someone ignores you. Someone mocks you. Someone chooses someone else over you. Someone questions your worth. And instantly, your mind whispers, "This means something about me." That single sentence is where all suffering begins. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, wrote this to himself in private when no one was watching. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Read that again. Not power over events, not power over people, power over your mind. If someone can insult you and ruin your entire day, they didn't just hurt you. They controlled you. If someone can reject you and make you question your value, they didn't just leave. They took something with them. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control how others treat them. The Stoic masters something far more powerful, how he interprets them. And that one shift changes everything. Here's proof. Two people hear the exact same insult. One spirals for days, the other shrugs and forgets it by lunch. Same words, different mind. So what actually changed? Not the event, the frame. And here's the part almost nobody tells you: pain isn't caused by what happened. It's amplified by the meaning you attach to it. When you tie your identity to outcomes, you become fragile. If someone's opinion can define your worth was never stable to begin with. If someone's approval determines your confidence is rented, not owned. And rented confidence always gets taken back. Epictetus said it in one brutal sentence: "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Not the betrayal, not the insult, not the rejection, the judgment. This shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't treat me like that. This proves I'm not enough." That inner narrative hurts far more than the event ever could. Here's the truth most people spend their whole life avoiding. You are not hurt by what people say. You are hurt by what you secretly believe about what they say. If someone calls you stupid, it only stings if some part of you fears it's true. If someone tells you you're replaceable, it only cuts if you already doubted your value. The wound was never external. It's internal insecurity exposed. That's why Stoicism was never about becoming cold. It's about becoming internally solid. Build a mind that doesn't run on approval, and criticism loses its blade. Detach your identity from outcomes, and rejection loses its power. Stop seeking validation, and disrespect loses its sting completely. Most people are chasing a world where nobody can hurt them. The Stoic builds something better, a mind that simply cannot be wounded by opinion. One tries to control reality, the other controls perception, and perception is the real battlefield. The one nobody trains for. So let's go where it actually starts. Why do people even try to hurt you in the first place? Because pain is contagious, and insecure people are constantly trying to export theirs. Most attempts to hurt you were never really about you. They're about control. Control over the narrative. Control over the room. Control over their own fragile ego. Strip away the noise and there are really only a few motives behind it. They feel threatened. They feel inferior. They want dominance. And this is the one that matters most, they want a reaction. Because a reaction equals power. If I can make you angry, I control your mood. If I can make you defensive, I control your posture. If I can make you over-explain, I control the entire dynamic. Most people never realize this is happening in real time. They think reacting proves strength. It's the opposite. Reacting proves you can be operated like a machine with a button. If someone can predict your emotional response, they can pull it whenever they want. And here's the part that should genuinely bother you. Nothing feels more powerful to a weak person than controlling someone stronger than them. That's why trolls exist. That's why gossip spreads. That's why subtle disrespect shows up in every social circle you've ever been in. It's a test, not of your intelligence, not of your status, of your emotional control. Epictetus warned about this 2,000 years ago. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Read that twice. It's brutal. Your mind is complicit. The insult only lands because something inside you agreed to catch it. If someone insults you and it ruins your entire week, the insult was just the spark. Your attachment was the fuel, and here's exactly where most people get it completely backwards. They think the answer is to fight harder, respond sharper, win with a better insult. But that only feeds the exact game being played against you. If you respond emotionally, you confirm three things without saying a word: that their words reached you, that they have influence over you, that you are invested in their opinion. Calm does the opposite. Calm denies them the one thing they came for. There's a strange psychology at play here. When someone throws an insult, they're expecting resistance. Explosion makes them feel validated. Nervous laughter makes them feel superior. But calm, controlled indifference, that makes them feel uncertain. And uncertainty is what actually destabilizes people who thrive on control. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to treat every criticism as neutral information, not a verdict on his worth. He would simply ask, "Is it true?" If yes, he corrected it. If no, he released it. No drama, no ego war. Most people don't suffer because others hurt them. They suffer because they can't separate fact from interpretation. Someone says, "You're not good enough." Fact, a person said words. Interpretation, "I am not valuable." The interpretation is what wounds you, not the sentence. And interpretation, every single time, is a choice. Now here's the part that surprises people, so listen closely. None of this means becoming passive. It means becoming strategic. If someone insults you publicly, you have options. Respond briefly and calmly, or say absolutely nothing. But you never emotionally escalate, because escalation is the exact fuel the fire needs. Every attempt to hurt you is secretly seeking a payoff, attention, reaction, control. Deny the payoff, and the behavior collapses on its own. It's like arguing with someone who's begging for chaos. The calmer you stay, the more frustrated they become, not because you're dominating them, but because you refuse to participate in their game at all. The Stoics understood something most people never grasp. Impulse is predictable. Predictable is controllable. But a disciplined mind is almost impossible to move. And what cannot be easily moved commands respect. So here is the first practical shift you can use today. The next time someone attempts to hurt you, say this to yourself silently: "This is a test of my discipline," not a test of your worth, a test of your discipline. The moment you say it, the entire frame shifts. You move from victim to practitioner, from wounded to observing, from reactive to deliberate. Instead of thinking, "How dare they?" you start thinking, "Can I remain stable?" That single reframe cuts the emotional charge in half, because now the focus isn't on their behavior anymore. It's on your mastery. The ego screams, "Defend yourself." Discipline whispers, "Observe." The ego wants relief right now. Discipline builds authority over time. Most people trade long-term respect for short-term emotional relief. They win the argument and lose their composure in the same breath. Stoicism reverses the trade entirely. It sacrifices the small ego win to build something far more valuable: psychological invulnerability. And here's what happens the moment you stop reacting instantly. Your nervous system slows down. Your mind regains clarity. Your identity detaches from the insult completely. And suddenly, what felt like an attack becomes small, almost forgettable, because small things cannot hurt big minds. But here's the uncomfortable part nobody wants to hear. If someone can still easily hurt you, there's something inside you that still needs strengthening. That's not shame. That's the map. That's growth showing you exactly where to work. Every insult that stings reveals an attachment. Every rejection that breaks you reveals a dependency. Every criticism that crushes you reveals an insecurity you haven't looked at yet. The Stoic doesn't run from these moments. He studies them. Because every exposed weakness is a chance to fortify it for good. Now let's go one level deeper, because knowing this in theory isn't enough. You need the actual method. The real power was never about controlling others. It's about becoming emotionally untouchable. And that requires the one thing almost everyone avoids: detachment, not coldness, not indifference. Detachment from dependency. There's a hidden chain most people carry without even noticing it. The need to be approved of, the need to be understood, the need to be respected, the need to be chosen. And every time someone withholds one of those things, the chain tightens a little more. The Stoics severed that chain completely. They accepted something that feels harsh the first time you hear it. You are not entitled to anyone's validation, not their praise, not their agreement, not their loyalty. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to his own judgment, his own principles. He didn't chase applause. He didn't collapse under criticism, because his standard lived inside him, not in the crowd. If you need praise to feel confident, you are fragile. If you need agreement to feel secure, you are unstable. If you need respect to feel worthy, you are dependent on people who don't owe you anything. But build your identity on character instead of opinion, and you become steady permanently. Character is built internally. Opinion is handed out externally by strangers at random. One you control completely, the other controls you. Epictetus asked one question that ends this whole debate. If someone calls you lame and it is true, why be upset? And if it is false, why be upset? Sit with that for a second. If the criticism is accurate, improve. If it's inaccurate, ignore it. Where exactly is the suffering required? It isn't required. It's optional. Ego just doesn't want you to know that. Ego demands reputation. Character demands discipline. When someone insults you, your ego panics and wants to restore its image immediately. The Stoic asks a completely different question instead. Is my character intact? If your character is intact, no insult has actually damaged anything real. You might feel heat, discomfort, a flash of anger, but your foundation stays unshaken, because that foundation was never built on their opinion in the first place. Now here's something uncomfortable that most people never admit to themselves. The desire to be liked is exactly what makes you easy to hurt. Wanting everyone's approval makes you agreeable. Being agreeable softens your boundaries. Soft boundaries get tested by everyone, eventually. And when you're tested and you react emotionally, you just confirmed their power over you. But something shifts the moment you become comfortable being misunderstood. You stop over-explaining every decision. You stop defending every choice. You stop correcting every false assumption people make about you. You let people think whatever they want, because their thoughts don't alter your character one bit. There is enormous quiet strength in being okay with being misread. Most people panic the second they're misunderstood. They rush to clarify, to justify, to convince. But convincing is just a polished form of seeking. And seeking is dependency wearing a nicer outfit. The emotionally untouchable person doesn't need to convince anyone of anything. They state it briefly, if it's even necessary, or they say nothing at all and move on. That silence is louder than any explanation could ever be. It says without a single word, "I'm not here to negotiate my identity with you. Let's make this real." Someone criticizes your work unfairly. Old you defends aggressively in a panic. New you pauses and says calmly, "If there's something specific you think I can improve, I'm open to hearing it." That single sentence keeps you stable, shifts the burden back to them, and instantly reveals whether they were being serious or just emotional. Or someone mocks a choice you've made. Instead of explaining your reasoning for 5 straight minutes, you simply say, "This works for me," and you stop talking. No debate, no defense, no dragging it out. That brevity unsettles people far more than any comeback ever could, because calm certainty carries more weight than loud reaction ever will. The more self-contained you become, the harder you are to wound. Self-contained people don't overshare. They don't react excessively. They don't chase applause, and they don't collapse under criticism. They move deliberately, speak deliberately, respond deliberately, and that deliberateness is what creates real presence. Presence is felt before it's ever understood. Walk into a room without needing anyone's validation, and people feel it instantly. Respond without emotional volatility, and people respect it without knowing why. Refuse to flinch at an insult, and people hesitate before trying you again. That hesitation is power. Here's a method the Stoics used daily and almost nobody uses today: mental rehearsal. They practiced imagining criticism, imagining insult, imagining rejection, not to fear it, to prepare for it. If you expect life to challenge you, you're never shocked when it actually does. Shock is what amplifies pain. Preparation is what disarms it. Marcus Aurelius would wake up every single morning and remind himself, "Today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful." He wasn't being pessimistic. He was being prepared. So when the insult actually came, he wasn't surprised by it. And surprise, remember, is half of what makes something hurt at all. Master your expectations, and you master a huge part of your suffering before it even starts. So stop trying to become invulnerable by avoiding pain altogether. Become invulnerable by mastering how you interpret it. If someone betrays you, it will hurt, that's real. But you can interpret it as proof you're worthless. Or you can interpret it as information about their character, not yours. One interpretation destroys you. The other one builds you. The event stays exactly the same. The meaning is always your choice. And the meaning is what determines the pain. Now, here is the final piece. The one that ties everything together. It's not about controlling your emotions in the moment. It's not about the perfect calm response. It's not even about silence. It's about identity. Build your identity on external validation, and you will always be vulnerable, no matter how much you learn. Build it on internal character, and you become unshakable. Most people spend their whole life asking, "How do I stop people from hurting me?" The Stoic asks a sharper question. Why does this hurt me in the first place? That question alone flips the entire direction of power back to you. Whatever you're hurt by, something inside you was attached to it, attached to being admired, attached to being chosen, attached to being seen as strong. But real strength was never about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself when no one's watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote his private journal for an audience of exactly one person, himself. Not for applause, for discipline. That's the entire secret. When your self-worth runs on principle instead of perception, insults simply lose their gravity. You'll still feel something. But you won't collapse, because your foundation was never sitting on their opinion to begin with. So here is the shield, the one that actually holds radical ownership. Whatever happens externally, you own what happens internally, completely, not partially. If someone humiliates you publicly, you own your reaction. If someone betrays you, you own your interpretation. If someone disrespects you, you own your composure. This doesn't excuse their behavior for a second. It just removes their control over you completely. The moment you say, "They made me feel this way," you hand over your authority. The moment you say, "I chose to interpret it this way," you take it back. That shift is subtle, but it is everything. Pain almost always comes from resisting reality. They shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't treat me this way. This isn't fair, maybe not, but reality was never obligated to be fair. The Stoic doesn't argue with reality. He adjusts to it, and that's not weakness. That is the highest form of strength there is. Expect that people will sometimes be flawed, insecure, impulsive, even cruel, and their behavior stops being able to shock you. No shock means no amplified pain. That's not cynicism. That's clarity. Humans will insult. Humans will gossip. Humans will misread you. You will never stop that. But you can absolutely stop letting it define you. If someone calls you weak, ask yourself honestly, am I? If yes, improve. If no, discard it completely and move on. Everything becomes self-evaluation, not ego defense. That is real mastery. Most people are fighting to win arguments. The Stoic is fighting to win control over himself. And control over self is the highest form of power that exists. Master this and nobody can hurt you the way they used to, because hurt requires your cooperation. It requires attachment. It requires ego investment. Detach from needing to be admired. Detach from needing to be understood. Detach from needing to be validated by people who will forget this moment by tomorrow. And the world quietly loses its emotional leverage over you for good. You will still feel. You will still care. But you will not collapse. You will not spiral. You will not trade your stability for someone else's bad day. That is what makes you untouchable. Not aggression, not dominance, not intimidation, composure. Composure built on internal certainty. Certainty built on character. Character built through daily discipline. And discipline built through awareness, the kind you now have that most people will never earn. So the next time someone tries to hurt you, remember exactly this. Lower your pulse. Not your standards. Own your interpretation. Not their behavior. Strengthen your character, not your image. Because the strongest person in any room was never the one who couldn't be attacked. It's the one who could not be emotionally controlled. Master your mind and you master the entire battlefield. If this hits something in you, type it below right now. I choose control. Say it. Mean it and carry it into the very next moment someone tests you, because that moment is coming, and now you already know exactly what to do.